Hello and welcome to VC Circle podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Rai. This is a special episode in which we'll be in conversation with Madhu Iyer, who was recently appointed partner at Silicon Valley-based early-stage venture capital firm Rocketship.vc. Rocketship was founded by Anand Rajaraman and Venki Harinarayan of Junglee fame that was acquired by Amazon. In India, Rocketship has invested in companies such as industrial goods marketplace Moglix, property listings portal NewBroker, and fintech firm Khatabook. Madhu's appointment as a partner was significant as the VC industry, like most other sectors, is dominated by men. According to a TechCrunch study, the number of women partners in the top 100 venture capital firms in the US was just 8% in 2017. The number is equally dismal, if not worse, in India as well. So in this podcast, we'll talk to Madhu about how it feels to break the glass ceiling and a little bit about her personal journey. Hi, Madhu. Welcome to our podcast and thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you so much, Joseph. It's great to be here.
So before you were appointed partner at Rocketship, you were chief data officer at San Francisco-based fintech startup Ethos Lending. Prior to that, you worked as chief data officer at Gojek, Indonesia's first unicorn. Tell us, how did you come across Rocketship and eventually joined the VC firm as its partner?
Sure. I think, thank you for the kind intro. I think that one of the, things that I will say about my career has been that, it's been organic. My sort of involvement in startups, my involvement in VC as a result. It also seems organic, and it also sort of seems very natural. I was I began a career in data science and statistics before the word data science was coined. I went on to, and this was in the Valley, and I'd spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley. And I went on to sort of, build the first wave of fintech. I was at Intuit, and I built, as part of the founding data team of a product called QuickBooks Financing, way back the first, fintech innovation. And that, led to patents, and that led to, me coming back to Southeast Asia where I'd grown up. And being a part of a private equity fund building fintech startups around Southeast Asia, which dovetailed to me, joining Gojek, coming back and being a part of the startup community here. And three things really. One is that global investing. I've spent a considerable time across the world, but mostly in my career it's been the Valley and some in Southeast Asia, but a global perspective. So a global fund, which Rocketship is, a data perspective, which also Rocketship is, and finally past entrepreneurship, which also is sort of Rocketship's partners. So I feel like all of the three things came together. Which led me to joining Rocketship, and it's been a great journey so far.
All right. Okay. Was there some India angle to it also, because Rocketship and has focus on India as well, and that's why you also selected in a Rocketship?
So we were actually, candidly, when I met Rocketship last year, 2019, we were evaluating deals in Southeast Asia and LATAM. And when I say deals, we were actually talking about a couple of companies specifically in these regions, which excited me, for a number of reasons, because, I think it's very important to be, entrepreneurship is more and more global. It's not just the Valley, and it's not just the US, and, that's a well-known fact now. But, as I've sort of, spent time, and in this amazing fund, India has obviously been a huge linchpin in, one of our, in all of our models. And it's just, we are bottoms up driven. And as India has emerged, that's also been, very sort of gratifying for me, because I spent time in Southeast Asia and Singapore, and Gojek had a very big presence in Bangalore. I've come back to Bangalore and I've met Indian entrepreneurs. I've, been blown away. Indian entrepreneurs also coming to Southeast Asia. I've seen the quality, just really gratifying.
So, like you mentioned earlier, you're not new to private investments. You were earlier a partner with STEM Financial, a private equity fund based in Hong Kong. But venture capital investments is different from private equity investments. What attracted you the most to become a venture capitalist?
I think so. Before I joined Rocketship, I was trying to raise a fund of my own.
Okay.
And basically, the entire thesis being around the fact that there's just a lot of value in, being a very data-driven investor. There's a lot of value on cross-border investing, and there's just a lot of value, in basically building data-driven products. And so data-driven, not just data-driven investments, but how do you build a company and a product with, a huge data-driven aspect to it. That, I think, was how I started into the venture capital journey. And, I really got interested in it just because I felt like, I felt like I'd gone through, private equity, even though it was very different to VC. I'd seen the nascent ecosystem at Southeast Asia and how it developed and how, unicorns came up, and, and I started working very closely with, and started spending a lot of time with lots of entrepreneurs, and, just kind of giving them guidance on how do you raise and whatnot. And I found the possibility of, doing many businesses and being involved in many businesses, the variety of it was fascinating to me.
Okay. It's interesting that you mentioned that, you had planned to launch your own fund. Do you do that do you plan to do that later on?
So, I feel like I have really landed in such a good spot where I couldn't have, and this is really a very candid response to this. I couldn't have, I think, I was a solo GP in the fund that I would have raised. That's,
right.
Not for everybody. It was definitely, exhausting. I feel like I couldn't have asked for a better team around me. I couldn't have asked for, a better set of, just the entire ethos around the way they have built this fund, really, it really sort of gels with me. It really sort of speaks to me. So yeah, I mean, any fundraising by me is not going to be done with Rocketship.
Okay, cool. Interesting. So I'm just curious, what did you want to become when you were growing up in school?
My father was in the Air Force, Indian Air Force, and we lived over India and Kendra Vidyalayas. And, I could never have, I think the adaptability of that perhaps has stuck to me more than anything. But growing up, I just couldn't have envisioned myself beyond. I mean, I didn't really have any ambitions, which I think is great because, I think a lot of people, are very, maybe that's not who I am as a person, but, I've seen a lot of very determined kids now, and I'm fascinated by that, but, the carefree and just kind of loved the arts and loved math and, and just, I've always loved things. And, like I said, my career has been organic, but my career has also been a fruition of what I've truly enjoyed doing at the moment. And that I really think is the underpinning of, I think sometimes in life, you should do what you like, and more than anything else.
Okay. Interesting. So as I mentioned earlier, like in most industries, women partners in the VC industry are scarce. Why do you think the VC industry needs more women in the top management?
Sure. I think it's the same discussion that people are having even in public companies now in the US and in California, where, people want, boards to be represented. There's a lot of diversity and inclusion. There's a lot of emphasis on diversity and inclusion. And that's pretty much the same reason. I think that when there is a woman in the board of a public company and there's a representation, that just goes to sort of, that just goes to send a message across that, there's a lot of sort of thinking that goes into making sure that, there's voices, there's different opinions, there's, there's just a lot of sort of different voices that are heard around the table. And I think it's very much the same in investing in private companies. It's really not the decision, because all of us are agnostic, entrepreneurs, data scientists. We bring the burden of our career and the biases of our career with us. But I'm talking more about, about sort of having a member in your investment cap table that's a woman, and therefore hopefully it all trickles down, and there's going to be more senior management hires that are women. Hopefully, when you decide on things, it's going to be completely agnostic of gender roles or anything that might be affected by things that are unnecessary, or so that's the real hope, is to bring just an agnosticism around the table.
Cool. There's a notion that having women partners in venture capital firms is good for women entrepreneurs. How do you perceive this notion?
So I think that, and I think it's true for Rocketship, and I'll speak to Rocketship. We are very data driven. We pick our deal flow through our algorithms, and truly, until it comes up on the CRM, where we see our deal flow coming in through our machine learning models, I don't even know until I click and I'm, ready to reach out to the company if it's a male founder or a female founder. I think that speaks volumes in the way we approach, the way we approach investing, is that we are, we are very open. We are very, we really want to democratize access across many levels. And truly that, it's seen in the way that we have, it's a surprise to me when I open up the CRM and, and I see a company and I click on it and, and then it's news, and it doesn't matter, it's on our CRM, we're going to reach out anyway. And, I think it trickles down. I think, I think that, it's always important for, just completely democratizing access, and we want to lead by example.
Cool. Who are your role models in the industry?
Sure. I think, frankly, I sort of pause here because I've known, I've learned from great, great, folks that have invested in great things, and I don't want to be, I don't want it to be a cliche, but I'm my partners that I'm working with are just phenomenal. I learn from them every single day. Be it Venki or Anand or Ish, all of us, like they've done this for 6 years. They've gone out on Zoom, and and they've really broken a lot of glass ceilings before it was cool to sort of speak to entrepreneurs and invest in them before before you even saw them. They've done it, and they have sat down here and decided to take bets on India when there was really no plan to be a global investor. So I think that without being sort of sounding cliched, I really look up to the partners that I'm working with, and in some sense, they are role models. Yeah.
Cool. And finally, what is your mantra for being a successful working women professional?
My mantra is to do what you love beyond anything else, and that should it should be about nothing else. It should not be about it should just be about going out there, getting up every morning and sleeping with very fond thoughts about your day before, and the day that has passed, and being very, very excited about getting up in the morning and doing what you do in your professional life. I also think that once that's in place, I think everything else follows. I think work-life balance. I think other things in life. Everything follows if you're doing what you love the most.
Cool. Thank you, Madhu, for that candid conversation. It was great to have you on our podcast. And that's all we have in this edition of VC Circle podcast. Thank you all for listening. Take care and goodbye.